All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Tuesday, post Traders Talk edition, Tuesday afternoon meeting. Today's February 8th. Welcome on back, everybody. Let's get a quick sound check just to make sure everybody can hear me loud and clear. I just got back to my desk. Great to see Chuck, Norman, Bob, Michael, Tom, Ron, Mark, Gary, Michael A, Brian as well, Kathleen, and Wendy. I was about to ask where the ladies of the room are. Great to see Kathleen and Wendy and Lewis and all of us otherwise loud and clear from all. Perfect. So without further ado, let's hop right into it, folks. Right now, the SPY is beginning to make a slight pullback off the high. Actually, a little glitch here on my AMC chart. Let me show the S&P ETF, the SPY symbol here. I always like to show that, but it's just to say we had a really good morning heading into the early afternoon. After a brief moment of consolidation within the market, we ended up seeing a nice retracement back up, and that's actually pretty relieving because at least heading into the market close yesterday, things were not looking too good. So I personally was expecting a bit more of a drop off heading into the morning compared to what we got. And in fact, once we ended up seeing the SPY begin to, squeeze back up to make a new high, I mean, hey, if it's not going to break any lower by the time it hits 10 o'clock, 10:15, then I'll tell you what, reversal time's coming a bit early. And we ended up seeing that. We ended up seeing the SPY make a nice pop going into like 10 o'clock, 10:15, and then ended up running up really well. So with that, we have AMC on the screen here just to begin. Normally just a side list stock. We didn't really think much of it from the morning today, but man, this ended up making a great squeeze heading into the early afternoon. I was just kind of flipping through my bookmap, page here, and all of a sudden I turned over to AMC. It actually looked like a good short. Well, out of nowhere, within a blink of an eye, just big squeeze and pop to make a new high. And with that, we ended up seeing the markets continue. But AMC in particular ended up running up really well up until just about 1682, its high of the day today. Obviously making a bit of a sharp pullback right now as the markets are beginning to, make its own pullback here. So AMC could easily be a good stock to put on our watch list. It's up over 8%. It's shortable and trades, millions of shares a day. And best of it all, we're pretty familiar with the stock. We've traded AMC more off than on really over the last month, right? So actually, I'll tell you what, I'm selling myself by putting AMC on the watch list here. But we'll do just that. I don't mind putting this on our list to begin. It's just very tradable in both directions. Now, at the same time as I say that, I'm sure I could put a stock like Peloton back on our watch list here too. Peloton PTON ended up making a really nice push with the market today, but coming off of earnings of its own, right? We ended up seeing a nice rally as this broke out above resistance off of 31 and ended up running all the way up towards the high there, well, above 40, but essentially it broke above and right back under 40. You would expect for that to be the case anyway, with it being the first time of it testing that as resistance. So, it just goes back to what we talked about in Traders Talk, our weekly Q&A workshop we just conducted inside the cyber group room earlier today. Hey, the more and more and more a stock goes up and up and up and up, you got to wonder, when is it going to begin to pull back? And much like I, was doing it in Traders Talk, the question is not really when, the question is where. And that where is typically going to be off of a major volume level. So, just going back to CFEI, like look what happened to this stock going into the close yesterday. We were pretty hopeful for this to at least maybe find some support, a higher low, and then for a squeeze back up. And didn't get it, right? So in the case of PTON, I mean, hey, off of 40, it ended up making a false breakout, but from that point, ended up breaking the trend line. You can probably just see off the lows here. It built a nice trend off the lows throughout the day. And for right now, it's just kind of consolidating. It's not moving nearly as well as it was from earlier today. So, hey, AMC, I'll put on our watch list here. Peloton, not as keen to really. Just for a $37 stock, I would want to see it make a better move than what it's doing right now. And actually, a really quick thing with Peloton, we've been following this off its IPO, right? I mean, since it first became public. This is the most amount of volume that Peloton has ever recorded in one day, and we still have 90 minutes to go before the close. This is a weekly chart just for reference. And today is Tuesday. So, I think that's pretty telling right there as well. I feel like more than anything, this will just be more exhausted heading into the end of the day. But given its range, I'm sure it can make like a 50-cent move here and there. I mean, hell, I think it just did that right now. I think it just did that right now. So, hey, it can make a dollar move, but given the consolidation that it's been making heading into the afternoon, I'm not too particular about it. If this ends up making a big move up or down at the end of this meeting, then maybe I'd reconsider, right? I want to just go right from top to bottom otherwise. And what we'll do is just scan across the percent gainers and losers list here, folks, as we normally do. All right, so water break right there, but let's hop to it. Now, we have a bunch of warrants on the top of the gainers list here to begin, folks. You could just tell based off the W in the symbol, the VLDRW, XPOA.W, DCFCW. The warrants are much less the warrants are much more illiquid to trade, makes it much more difficult to apply level 3. We'd rather trade the stock compared to the warrant. Now, with that, as we continue to go through, SOPA, I don't think this has warrants. Maybe it does, just to say at least. Ended up making a nice move from the market open. It basically built a slingshot where it dropped off at first, ended up breaking, essentially made the move down to 4. I thought it broke under and over 4. I think it hit a low of 402 at the time there, and then ended up running up really well. Hit a high at the time of basically 6. And for the meantime, here right now, as we're talking, it's not a bad little run up. Not a bad little move here on this SOPA trade, at least from the 450. This time it broke under and over 450 and ended up running back up pretty well here. So, hey, I like the afternoon move here, Norman. Norman called this out in our chat board just a moment ago, too, as I was beginning this meeting. So, hey, I could put this on our list to begin. I don't mind doing so, at least for right now. Now, again, at the end of this meeting, if I have like a 20 stock watch list, then, something's wrong. We got to at least trim the fat there a bit. But for right now, that makes the cut. DCFC. I think this was one of the names in the runnings for the new Washington football team in the NFL, DCFC. It's obviously not related to the symbol. I'm just making a joke, but it's to say stock ended up making a big pop today to where it broke all-time highs, I believe. I think that's all-time highs that you could see on the daily chart. Yep. Well, ended up coming back down rather fast and right now making lower highs. So pass on this for right now. And TDC, pretty expensive. I should have realized that right there. All right, so keep it going. Peloton, again, if we don't really have anything to put on our list at the end of it, then maybe at that point I would put Peloton on. If anything, it seems like a better short going into the close than long. That's the one thing I'll mention even right now. Lower highs, pulling back down more. Wouldn't shock me if like a 35.50 ends up being a good bounce point on that trade. Just saying. UCL right now. This was one from the morning, actually, really quick. From the morning, this was on our lists, on the pre-market list at least, Fausto. By the time it was 9 o'clock, you saw what you see here. Stock was dead by 9 o'clock. So we didn't focus on it going into the open as much, thankfully so. Ended up just dropping off right away at first. And right now, trying to get a small push up here. Same to be said on the AREB trade. Ended up making a nice little bounce earlier off of 3 at first, but then ended up pulling back. And right now, this thing's just garbage. If this was shortable, this would be a much better opportunity to work with here heading into the close than anything. JOBY, this stock ended up making a nice trend earlier today. Jobby ended up topping off at 469, but pulled back pretty hard. And the pullback here that's a killer. I mean, it is shortable. Perhaps that could be the better play heading into the close. LDI, a little spotty, but trying to make that move up. It's at the HOD right now. Harley Davidson coming off of, I believe, earnings. Pretty flat, though, in the meantime, too. CEIX, PDD. I knew PDD was expensive. Just wanted to look at this one quickly, at least. It's at the highs. This one I could slip on our list if I feel a real need to. And making higher lows, just broke out or just broke higher just a moment ago here, so still looks pretty strong. The SBEV stock, the news that came out on SBEV today was basically an update to the news that came out back last month. So I wasn't really too interested in this stock, just given that. Ended up giving a little push up at first, and right now you could say it's trying to maybe hold over that peak, but it's dragging back. It's just bad to say it's dragging back down, and out of nowhere just slipped a bit down towards 470. So we could put this on our list if we feel a real need to at the end, or maybe after this meeting if it ends up showing more signs of life on the way up. That's different. All right, I'll tell you what, folks. Not much else I found on the gainer side for right now. I am in two trades. I'm in two trades. The reason I say this right now, live, right now, is because this is one of them. I'm in on SLQT as a short. I have my stop set literally at 327, 328. So if it pops up a smidge here, I'll get stopped out on a smaller position. But just to say though, this stock is shortable. It has been from the morning, at least on TradeStation's end. Ended up making a nice dead cat bounce heading into the late morning as it was gradually building those higher lows. But hey, I mean, if it's not going to continue to make that push, it's down enough to where you could hope for that dead cat bounce. And we got it a bit at first. So I thought that, when I jumped in earlier, prior to 2:30, I thought this was a decent opportunity. But, right now I'm not out of the doghouse on this yet. This may easily pop right back up and stop me. And, I mean, that would be all right if that's the case. But nonetheless, this still remains pretty tradable, I think. It's shortable. It's not too close to ground zero, too close to literally $0. It's pretty flat right now. Don't get me wrong. It's like kind of just in this sideways move here. But I'll put this on our list for right now. It's down enough, shortable at least, so you could try and short it. Should we see more signs of life going down? Yeah. So for right now, we'll see where this takes us here. The SLQT trade. PLSE, not a whole lot happening there, that's for sure. KPTI. I saw KPTI earlier today. KPTI was on the losers list. It was on my notepad this morning. I was thinking about it. I didn't really prep up the chart. I didn't trade it after the open. Looks like it could have been a good short though, from essentially 9 where it held the high of the day there down towards just about 780. You know what I mean? Like that's a good trade. And for what it's worth, it's relatively close to the lows right now. It just seems more flat here, kind of like that SLQT trade. And this one's not down as much. I could put this on at the end if I feel a real need to. I want to see if there's anything looking even better, though, first. Anything even closer to the lows of the day right now, or if there's a stock I skipped over on the gainer side that's up big. All right, we'll keep it going here, folks. Hey, maybe not for long because this is it on the loser side. Not a whole lot else that I see that's like a familiar name that's down big at least. There are some stocks that are shortable. I'll click on those pretty quick. Edit, EDIT. This actually looks good on the chart, good on the order book. It's only trading about 2 or 3,000 shares a minute. That's not a whole lot really. So chart checks out good. Order book is not too thin, but I don't know. I feel like there could be better shorts in terms of the amount of volume per minute that this stock is trading. Want to see maybe just a little bit more on that side. All right, folks, I think that's just it for me. If there is anything else, let me know. Type it in the chat board, and I will mention the second trade that I'm actually in right now. We'll see how that chart looks. I know I'm up on it. NIO, NIO. Just a sideless stock. That's it. Nothing to really write home about on this trade. I'm currently short right now from 24.60, so up a little bit, but it's not making that big drop that I would hope for. It was earlier before we started the meeting, but we'll see where it takes me. I'm going to hang on to it for right now. I'm not going to put this on our special list though. All right, welcome back, Mitch. Mitch from YouTube. Mitch has a nice chat for all of us here right now, asking about the MNDT trade. That's MDT. Whoops. MNDT trade. That's what I'm talking about. All right, nice little pop here, Mitch. Good call. Got halted at 2:39 Eastern here, folks. Current time is 2:44. That's just about 5 minutes from right now, which means the stock literally in the next 1 or so minutes, if not less, should be reopening up. And if it's not within the next 60 seconds, then it's going to be a 10-minute halt instead. But for right now, it's hard to not put this stock on our list. It's trading over 1.7 million shares right now, over 300,000 shares poured in right off the spike here. So I don't know what news came out, but this looks pretty interesting for the meantime. MNDT. And as I'm talking here, I think that it's going to be a 10-minute halt. Seems like it's not opening up yet. News out on MNDT from Rich, who posted this in the chat board just now, following up from Mitch's call out there. Says that Microsoft is pursuing a deal for MNDT. Buy the rumor, sell the news, I reckon, right? Pretty interesting. And John, give us the heads up on that as well inside the trading room. Brian says, Josh, take a guess as to what trade I just jumped into 10 minutes ago. I'm going to guess that it starts with a U and ends in a Y. Ends in a Y. Is that my guess, Brian? Are you in on a UVXY right now? And he says, LOL, yes, off 1338. All right, shaking down a little bit, but he's off to a decent start still, right? There we go, Brian. Nice. Ron W says Ford F heading back down. Hey, that's just a good side list stock. Dropped off early today. I'm looking down at my notepad, folks. We got 4 stocks to work with in total so far. I thought this would have been like a 15, 20 stock watch list, really. So I'm pretty happy with how I kept it pretty selective and limited there. But that leads me to say, though, one more time, if there's any other stocks that I missed, if there's anything else that you would want me to look at here, last call, folks. Looks like the airlines are all still holding strong as the SPY's beginning to dip back down a tiny amount. Jets is kind of flat, but at the high, the airline ETF. So that's where I was checking out Delta Airlines up over 3.5%. I mean, hey, it's at the highs. UAL, you could say the same thing, a little bit more expensive. American Airlines is likely the stock that we'd be more inclined to follow. Those could still be on the side list right now. I mean, there's not a huge need to put this on the main list just yet. I like what we have, folks. We got 4 stocks to work with in total. That's all we really ever need to begin with. And then, typically after 3 o'clock, when Rich comes back on the mic here, that's when we'll look to rescan the market a lot more seriously, I like to say at that point. Why do I say it that way, folks? It's because as soon as I finish up this meeting, not often, but sometimes I'll see a call out tossed around inside the chat board. It's like, that stock's not worth watching. Come on. Come on. Unless if the stock's making a big pop, big drop as soon as we finish up this meeting, folks, I would definitely suggest for you to start with the list here first. And then at 3 o'clock, hey, after we start following the stocks that are on the list, then at that point, at 3 o'clock, when Rich comes on the mic, then we'll do a second round of scanning and seeing if there's any other big moves at that point. But hey, we just ran through the whole market. These 4 stocks that we're going to put on the watch list, at least for right now, provide as good of an opportunity as anything in order for us to make some money. All right. Mark S says MNDT, 10-minute halt. Yeah. Oh, it's going on 10 right now. It's going to open up likely in the next 1 minute. All right, folks. But with that, let's just try and follow this stock here alongside the other 3 heading into the close. For all of us on YouTube and Facebook Live, really quick. I normally post my email address as I do here at the end of these streams, but I know that we have a webinar lined up at 4 o'clock Eastern time today. Make sure to go right down to the link on the banner below the stream there to get yourself registered. Fausto's doing a free introductory to day trading webinar titled "Keep It Super Simple Trading." So that'll be right at 4 p.m. Eastern time for all of us live inside the trading room. At least, hey, you got us for another hour before that. We'll post the link for that at least inside the cyber group room, just as we're winding down towards the end of the day. All right, folks. But for Brian, Ron, John, Kathleen, Henry, Deborah, all of us otherwise inside the chat board, I look forward to talking to you folks later on at 3:30. Take care.